For step 1, we're going to classify our polynomial and determine whether it's negative or positive. The example we're looking at here has all the different minutiae that could arise when you're doing these problems, so we'll be able to see each part as we go through. Step 1, let's determine the classification of this polynomial by counting how many x terms there are. So we'll just go through. Here's an x term. Even though it's not in parentheses, this is an x and it's there. So it's an x term. We have one x term. Here, this factor has an x term as well. We have at least two x terms. This factor has an x in it, therefore there's a third x term here. And this one here, even though it's 2x, it's still just one term. So here's another x term, and if you count these up, it tells us we're going to have a fourth degree polynomial. The other part of this step is determining whether that leading term is positive or negative. So we're going to look at the signs of each of our x terms. This 2x is a positive 2x. Remember, the sign of this term is not dependent on the operation that's happening afterwards. It's just looking at this itself. This is positive, so the x term here is positive. This is positive, so the x term here is positive. This one is also positive, but the one out front, that one's negative. So when you have these four factors where one of them is negative, that means your whole product is going to be a negative product. So our leading term is a fourth degree polynomial because there's four x terms, but it's going to be negative because one of those x terms was negative. So now we know our fourth degree polynomial is negative. And that tells us what our graph is going to look like before we find our zeros and put it on the graph itself. Fourth degree and negative tells us our end behavior is down and down. And fourth degree means it has at most three terms. 1, 2, 3. So our graph's going to look something like this, but what we'll do next for step 2 is find the zeros so we can really place the graph correctly.